All right, let's talk about ballot questions. It's that section that a lot of us spend some extra time on to figure out what exactly we're voting on. Don't worry though, we've got you covered. Let's take a closer look at the 4 ballot issues you'll be asked about when you head to the polls. The first issue you'll see on the ballot this year is about who has the authority to call lawmakers to a special session. Now, state senators and representatives meet every other year. The session lasts usually about 60 to 90 days, unless they vote to extend it. But special sessions are called on an as-needed basis. For example, they held a special session just this year to talk about the state's $1.6 billion surplus. Right now, Arkansas is one of 14 states where only the governor can call lawmakers into a special session. This bill makes it so that the state senators and representatives can vote to convene themselves. If the bill passes, then a special session would start if 2/3 majority of the legislators vote to meet, or from a joint proclamation from both the Speaker of the House and the Senate pro temp. The bill passed easily through the state legislature with a 30-2 vote from the Senate and 82-9 in the House. However, Governor Hutchinson is against the bill, telling THV 11, "I will vote no on issue 1. The General Assembly is not designed to be a full-time legislature under our Constitution, and there would be insufficient checks on the legislative body when it has the ability to stay in session for any reason that the members support." So a yes vote on issue 1 on the ballot would give the state legislatures the power to convene themselves for a special session through a 2/3 vote or by a proclamation from the heads of the House and Senate. A vote no would keep the power to convene with only the governor. The second issue on the ballot changes the required number of votes that future amendments or ballot measures would need to be approved. Now, a bill only needs a simple majority, just over 50%, to get approval. Ballot issue number 2 would change that and make the threshold a 60% supermajority, 2/3 of everyone who votes. The bill's sponsor, Representative David Ray, says that it can be too easy to get something on the ballot, and outside influence can play a big role in what gets there.
Our initiative and constitutional amendment process is really susceptible to big money, out-of-state interests that really want to hijack our lenient ballot access laws and use those to essentially buy an amendment to our Constitution.
Others, like the Arkansas Public Policy Panel, say it's not quite that easy.
It's incredibly hard. I mean, you have to collect over 100,000 signatures to put something on the ballot. You have to follow very specific rules and regulations that the legislature has created. You have to write the measure in a way that it passes constitutional muster with the courts. And then after you do all of that, then you got to convince voters to vote for it, which is the hardest hurdle of all.
Arkansas is one of 38 states right now that require just a simple majority. Just 11 states require a supermajority in some type of way. A change like this could have a pretty significant impact on elections. Between 2000 and 2020, there were 40 proposed bills going before voters. 30 won approval, 10 were rejected. Of the 30 that passed, 18 of them received at least 60% approval. That means that 12 of the proposals in our Constitution today wouldn't have made it under the new rules.
Our state Constitution is our bedrock foundational document, and we shouldn't just amend it 4, 5, 6 times every 2 years in just sort of a willy-nilly fashion. It should really only be amended when there's something closer to genuine consensus among the voters.
To take that right away from citizens after 100 years is just the wrong direction for the state to move. Our state motto is Regnat Populus, where the people rule, but issue 2 directly undermines that state motto.
So when you see the issue on the ballot, a yes vote would change the required number of votes to enact ballot measures to a 60% supermajority in future elections. A no vote would keep it how it is so that a simple majority approves new laws. Ballot issue number 3 deals with freedom of religion. The U.S. Constitution says there can't be a preferred religion, and the government can't keep people from worshiping how they want. But it's not always cut and dried, like when they say you can't go to a church because of a virus. Issue 3 would put in the Arkansas Constitution legal language limiting how the government's rules can impact religion, even if the rules didn't set out to impact religious beliefs. Jerry Cox with the Family Council supports the bill.
Government cannot burden your free exercise of religion unless it has a compelling reason to do so. And then if they do that, they have to do it in the least restrictive means possible.
For example, The laws designed to limit large gatherings during COVID could be deemed unconstitutional because they would limit religious gatherings, even though the law didn't set out to limit religious gatherings in the first place. John DePippa, Dean Emeritus at UALR's Bowen School of Law, says the government would then have to prove that the rule is necessary.
If the state wants to burden religion in any way, it has to meet the highest level of judicial scrutiny. What that means is it has to have a really important reason, and it has to show that there's no other way to accomplish that reason except by burdening religion.
Given the First Amendment's religious protections, you would think this specific idea would already be understood. But for 25 years, there's been efforts to solidify the concept. Issue 3 is crafted on the federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act. 21 states, including Arkansas, have a RFRA already in place after the Supreme Court ruled it wasn't applicable to states. Supporters say Issue 3 would take that rule in place and make it a constitutional amendment.
That essentially guarantees the same religious freedoms that the U.S. Constitution protects. And so we have it in the U.S. Constitution. If Issue 2 passes, we'll have protections in the state constitution as well.
So why do its supporters think it's necessary?
It's much, much harder to change the Constitution than it is to repeal a statute. Putting it in the Constitution makes it more or less permanent.
So, a vote yes would support adding the State Religious Freedom Restoration Act to the state constitution. A no vote would oppose making it a new amendment, but the state law would still be in place. Issue 4 is the evolution of a process seen around the country. It would legalize marijuana for recreational use for people 21 and older. Under the law, you would only be able to possess up to an ounce at a time. With any issue like this, there are a lot of questions about safety and how it'll be regulated. Eddie Armstrong with Responsible Growth Arkansas, the group behind the push, says they looked at those concerns when crafting the proposal.
What was a responsible, well-regulated, meaningful way to approach an expanded industry to not put just dispensaries or liquor stores on every corner?
The amendment would put a 10% tax on marijuana sales compared to the state's sales tax rate of 6.5%. That money would then go towards several initiatives.
We're going to be able to shift some revenues to law enforcement for personnel, UAMS cancer research accreditation. Our drug courts is where another proportion of the funds will go. But then you've got this $200+ million that are going into general revenue.
Medical marijuana dispensaries already in place would be authorized to sell the legalized product. Then 40 more licenses are going to be given out to others in a lottery system. But opponents of the bill, like Jerry Cox, are worried about how that will look.
This creates a monopoly for a small number of marijuana dealers. In a way, they're writing themselves into the Arkansas Constitution.
The bill had a rocky road to get onto the ballot. It's the only citizen-initiated measure this year after getting nearly 200,000 signatures, far more than the 89,000 required. But then it nearly met the same fate that all cannabis proposals have met in past elections, all except the 2016 vote for medical marijuana. Courts, commissions, or the Attorney General would often keep it off the ballot. But this time, the Arkansas Supreme Court cleared the way for this proposal to go to voters. So 6 years after passing medical marijuana, Arkansas could be the 20th state to legalize the drug for recreational use. And like medical marijuana, if this bill passes, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Division would then have to develop rules to regulate the industry, which is something Cox is wary of.
See, right now we have a medical marijuana board commission that oversees some of the medical marijuana. We have the ABC board that does some. We have a legislative committee that oversees some, and the health department. Well, this new amendment unplugs all that and just says, ABC board, you guys take care of that.
So, a vote yes on your ballot this November would approve legalized recreational marijuana for people 21 and over, initiate a 10% tax on marijuana sales, and require new rules to be put in place to regulate those sales. A vote no would oppose legalizing recreational marijuana here in Arkansas. All right, if you missed any of that, don't worry. You can find each one of those issues explained on thv11.com, or make it even easier. Text the word VOTE to 501-376-1111. We will send you extensive voter guides straight to your phone. There you'll get more about all of these issues, plus those big races and everything you need to know as you get online to cast your vote.